Basically what he said to us was like, yeah, you can come here and you can visit the temples and you can leave without knowing anything about Cambodia, but I just don't think that's right. So that's why I wanted to share this video with you guys today. In this video, I'm going to talk all about what it was like to be in the city of Siem Reap. Next week is going to be all about Angkor Wat. So while we were in Siem Reap, we stayed at Naga Angkor Guest House. I picked it because it was very, very affordable. It had really good reviews and it was in a perfect location, like central, downtown location. The staff there turned out to be my favorite part. It's kind of in between a hostel and a hotel. We had our own private room and they knew it was our honeymoon, so they actually decorated it with like flowers and like the swan-shaped towels and stuff. They were so sweet. It was very clean and I felt like it was really good value for money. Also, it's a pretty social environment there because they do have dorm room options and they've got really cheap drinks and good food. So when I first got to Siem Reap, you may notice that there's not too much footage, and that's because I was sick with food poisoning for the very first day that we were there. I think we got sick from some skewers that were undercooked in Bangkok. So once I felt well enough to go out, the first thing I noticed is that everything in Cambodia is very cheap and ATMs spit out US dollars, which I thought was very strange. So as it turned out, the currency situation there is very interesting. That was kind of our first indication as to like something is up in Cambodia. Like I knew it was a very poor country, but I was like, why are they using US dollars? Every time we would go buy something, the prices would be in US dollars, and if you were given change, they actually don't exchange any kind of coins there. The change is given to you in Khmer real, which is the Cambodian currency, and the numbers are insane. Like the bills will be like 20,000 real and it's like $1. You know, basically if you go to the store and you're buying a bottle of water and you give them US dollars and you get change back, you'll get first US dollars and any additional change will be given to you in the Khmer real, the local currency, which basically means they're operating on the US dollar. So I thought that was a little odd. Next thing I noticed, oh my god, we were offered so many tuks when we were in Siem Reap. It was insane. As a joke, I was counting how many people offered us rides in tuks as we were walking into Pub Street, and it wasn't fun anymore. It got to over a dozen within like 5 minutes, and I just was like, this isn't very fun. I'm kind of sad. Like, why are there so many tuk drivers? There are also tons of people just trying to hawk like t-shirts, postcards, street food at us. We were even offered drugs by tuk drivers. They were like, oh, you want to smoke marijuana, cocaine? Okay, so we're gonna get into this a little bit more, but the government in Cambodia is pretty corrupt. So one thing we found out is if you do, for example, want to purchase some controlled substances, I'm not suggesting you do so, do not do it from tuk drivers because a lot of them have paid off police. So basically they hold a very small amount of these drugs on them. You pay them for the drugs, you buy drugs from them, you walk away, they call the police shows up, and then they get a payment from the police. And I'm assuming the police come and bring the drugs back, so they're probably just using the same thing over and over. So basically you could end up in jail or with at least a massive fine if you purchase drugs from a tuk driver. Don't do drugs, kids. Just don't do it. Pub Street in Cambodia was interesting. As I said, I had food poisoning the first day, so I kind of like took a few days to recover. So basically the entire time I was there, I was like not much in a mood to like drink or eat very much. And so we really didn't taste much like Cambodian food. I was pretty much just eating like fruit and rice. But one thing I noticed is that they have a lot of options for Western tourists, and the beer is incredibly cheap. What did stick into my brain is one of the staff members that we met at Naga Angkor Guest House. So I believe his name is pronounced Bore or Bori. We loved sitting down and chatting with him. He's an amazing person. He's I believe the night manager at Naga Angkor and also the bar manager. So we ended up having a lot of long conversations with him, and he taught us a lot about Cambodian history. The conversation came up because he was actually leaving to attend a funeral in Phnom Penh. And when someone says they're attending a funeral, you're not going to be like, oh, who died? But eventually he did tell us that who died was not a relative, but an activist called Kem Lay. I'm probably pronouncing that so wrong. He was assassinated just days before we arrived in Siem Reap by an unknown gunman, and it happened just days after he criticized the current prime minister and his family. So this guy is beloved. There's actually an estimated 2 million people who attended his funeral, including this person that we spoke with. He brought a lot of hope to Cambodian people because unfortunately the government right now in Cambodia is just not good. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it exactly. The people in power are called the Cambodian People's Party, and this activist, Ken Lay, actually formed an opposition party called the Grassroots Democracy Party, and he spent a lot of time visiting with rural families in Cambodia, trying to understand what the root of their problems were, and basically connecting it to the current government and finding ways that Cambodia needs to change in order for people to break this cycle of poverty that's going on. So I'm going to give you the basic rundown of what the hell is going on in Cambodia. The current leader, his name is Hun Sen. I could be pronouncing that so wrong. Hun Sen. He has been in power since 1985. That's a long time. That's before I was born. And his family has an estimated worth of 200 million US dollars. That's the minimum estimation. A lot of people see him as a dictator because he uses intimidation tactics, violence, corruption, his military force, all just to remain in power. And if this is any indication, his full title is Lord Prime Minister Supreme Military Commander Hun Sen. Like, what the actual... This is where things get really messed up. His name at birth was not Hun Sen, it was Hun Bunal, but he changed it in 1972, 2 years after he joined the Khmer Rouge. So when he was in the Khmer Rouge, and I'm going to explain what they are later, he ended up raising up in the ranks. Eventually, a Vietnamese power came in, overthrew the Khmer Rouge, who was doing some really bad things, and then somehow he became a leader in the new Vietnamese government. In 1985, the Prime Minister of Cambodia died, and he became the de facto leader, and he's been in power ever since. Fun fact, he only has one eye, because when he was in battle with the Khmer Rouge, he apparently wounded his eye and had it removed. That's terrifying. What is the Khmer Rouge? A lot of you have probably heard of Pol Pot or the Khmer Rouge. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge. So they were in power from 1975 to 1979. That's not really that long ago. Their ideal world was one where Cambodia was a pure Khmer nation. They idolized the Angkor Empire. And if you don't know, the Angkor Empire is basically the city and the government and the system that was in place while Angkor Wat was like in full swing. Angkor Wat was actually a full civilization, and we're going to get into more of that when I show you the Angkor Wat temples, which are amazing. So the Khmer Rouge wanted to return to an agrarian society, which is a society that basically a lot of the population farms. They wanted to stop receiving aid from people abroad, get rid of the Vietnamese, the Chinese, and any mixed blood Khmer people. They went about achieving these goals in a very up way. So a lot of you have probably heard of the Cambodian genocide. So basically, while they were in power, they organized a mass cleansing of the population. An estimated 2 to 3 million people were murdered by the Khmer Rouge, which was about 1/3 of the population at the time. 1/3 of the population was murdered by their own government. The way they went about this was by using fear and terror. Yeah, the Khmer Rouge was essentially just a terrorist organization that was like controlling their own government, but they basically used terror to mobilize their own civilians to turn against their fellow people. So in order to return to an agrarian society that symbolized the Angkor Empire, they had to move people from urban areas to rural areas, and they did so with a lot of force. They targeted non-Khmer people, and they even banned the use of minority languages. Basically, anybody who met the following qualifications was arrested, tortured, and executed. People who had connections to the former government or foreign governments. Intellectuals, professionals. That means doctors, lawyers, businessmen, anyone who could speak a foreign language. Vietnamese, Chinese, Thai, Christians, Muslims, Buddhist monks. That's a lot of people. The people who were favored were people who were currently living in primitive commune-style systems within the rural areas of Cambodia, and people who had farming skills. If you didn't have farming skills, you might be murdered. As gruesome as it is, I felt like that story is very important to share because it's a look at modern Cambodian history and gives you some insight as to why they're dealing with the things that they are dealing with today and why things look the way they are. Why the currency is US dollars. Why there's so many tuk-tuk drivers who can't find work. Why there are people begging on the streets. Why there are children selling things at Angkor Wat. So I'm going to vocalize this, but I have to tell you, I just about burst into tears when I read this online. So the average annual income in Cambodia is about $950 per year. To compare, the average annual income in the US is $51,900. So the US average income is $51,000 more than the average Cambodian annual income. I'm gonna put my laptop on my lap and give you the quick rundown as to how the cycle of poverty in Cambodia works. Somewhere between 80 and 90% of the workforce in Cambodia is farmers. People generally live day to day and hardly make enough money because they have such low yields on their farms. If there's one bad season because of a monsoon or a drought and their fields can't produce enough for them to even make enough money to survive, they have to take out a loan from the bank. As you can imagine, these people generally can't pay off a loan because they're living day to day on their farm. So if they can't pay off, they just keep making minimum payments. Eventually the bank will just claim their land, which means that they're left with no land, a low skill set, no way to apply their skill set to make enough money, and they don't have any money. So this is why so many people end up begging on the streets. There's a huge underground sex industry in Cambodia. There continues to be HIV spread in Cambodia. Little kids are trying to sell things on the streets to help their parents make enough money to feed the family. People walking around barefoot, amputees. It's just insane. So the way the cycle of poverty perpetuates itself is because a lot of times kids are pulled out of school to help their parents make money. The kids then become uneducated because they don't go to school and their skill set is what they get from their parents. So the family continues to have a low skill set, and if they don't have land, they end up begging. So on top of that, healthcare in Cambodia is very expensive and the health there is generally poor. Poor infrastructure, low productivity, lack of education, lack of health. It's just this big never-ending cycle until something big changes. On top of that, there's some really up things that are also going on in Cambodia, and I'll go through these very quickly. Number one, land grabbing. This is really messed up. I've seen a lot of videos of this on Facebook, shared by that friend that we made at Naga Angkor Hotel who I learned a lot of this information from. He shares this stuff on Facebook. It's still happening today. Basically what happens is the government sells off land to foreign investors. This is land that people are currently living on and earning their income from with their low farming skill set. So what they do is they forcibly evict these rural people with no other option for them. They don't give them money or a new home or new land. They just evict them. And the farmers usually don't know that their land's going to be evicted until there are bulldozers and security guards on their property. Oftentimes the family is tortured, murdered, whatever they have to do, they'll just get them off the property. This isn't just the parents. This happens to the children too. It's really awful. I hate to sound like help the children, but like this is real. This is really real. Why is the government still in power? Cambodia is a democracy. But they're obviously not, because there's only one party that has any power whatsoever, and the opposition party's leader was just shot in questionable circumstances, suddenly after criticizing the current party. So the reason that democracy isn't working for Cambodia is because the government can bribe people. They can just straight up change votes. Hun Sen is in charge of this authoritarian government and he can do whatever he wants. So the reason I'm sharing such negative content with you guys, because usually I try to keep things positive on here, is because I'm just trying to be open, honest, and totally real and raw with you guys. I do not want to make a channel where I'm like, oh, everything is great, because it's not. I went to Siem Reap and I left feeling heartbroken. It was really, really hard to make the transition from Siem Reap to Hong Kong, and the fact that we went to Hong Kong after visiting probably the most poverty-stricken place I've ever been in my life was just mind-blowing. Like, it really struck a chord with me. So, how can we help Cambodia? In my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of other people, the real hope for change in Cambodia is the kids. I hate to sound cliche, but like Shay Carl always says, truth is hidden behind the word cliche. By taking the kids out of school and leaving them uneducated with a low skill set, that means that they're going to perpetuate the cycle of poverty. If you break that cycle by putting them back in school, helping them to achieve a higher skill set, to get a job where they're not subsisting day to day, but they are making an income that they can be somewhat comfortable on, that is a way to break the cycle of poverty. And this is hard work. You have to do this one kid at a time. Unfortunately, people who want to donate to Cambodia have to be very, very wary of the organizations that they donate to, because more often than not, what happens with nonprofit money is it goes back into the hands of the government for there's a lot of different scenarios as to why that happens. So one organization that I know is reputable, because they're advertised heavily by a YouTubing family that I really love and respect, and because I've seen physical proof in their vlogs that this organization exists and helps people. It's called Water of Life. Daily Bumps is a YouTube channel that I follow. They're a vlogging family. They organize a fundraiser every year for Water of Life. The goal of Water of Life is to provide educational opportunities for rural children. So their goal is to get these rural kids who are in the cycle of poverty back into school and get them into college, have a higher skill set, and have like a career goal that they're aspiring to, so that they're making an income that isn't just giving them day to day, but allowing them to feel comfortable. If they feel comfortable and they can save up money, then they have kids, they can send their kids to college, and then it's a new cycle. I literally have chills right now thinking about it. So I included a link to it below. This is no way sponsored whatsoever. This is literally just a link to their website. If you want to donate, feel free to do so. Please be aware this is a Christian organization. As you guys know, I'm somewhat non-religious slash finding myself slash raised Christian slash who knows. So I prefer to donate to organizations that are focusing solely on education efforts, not on religion. But because I really don't know of any other organizations that'll do anything for Cambodia, I don't see any harm in the fact that this is a Christian organization. So I have a link to that below. Part of me wants to apologize for having such a negative vlog, but a bigger part of me is proud that I can put these things out on the internet, because if even one person in the comments donates money to an organization or shares this information with people and keeps the education going about what's going on in Cambodia, I think that this vlog is worth all the sad times I've had researching this, basically. This is what I got out of Cambodia. When I went and visited Siem Reap, this is the memories that I left with. I just really hope the Prime Minister of Cambodia ends up in an international court soon, and that this actually really does change. That said, I still recommend visiting Cambodia. I really do, because it is an educational opportunity. I did grow as a person from going there. I think that Angkor Wat is incredible, and I'm going to show you all about the temples next week, but I just felt that it was really necessary that this information is put out there. If I only talked about the temples, I wouldn't feel right. I just wouldn't feel right. I just remember this moment with that guy that we met at the hotel where he was like, oh, why did you come to Cambodia? And we told him about the temples, and he wasn't angry at us, but he did get upset that we didn't know very much about Cambodia, not because of us, but because of, our news sources not covering Cambodia, because Cambodia's, it's an old story. It's been going on for years. Of course, it's like sad, blah, blah, blah. No one wants to hear about it anymore. It doesn't make good news. He's just sad that that is reality for our home countries, and that the new media on Cambodia is go visit the temples. Basically what he said to us was like, yeah, you can come here and you can visit the temples and you can leave without knowing anything about Cambodia, but I just don't think that's right. So that's why I wanted to share this video with you guys today. We will have much more positive videos coming up very soon. I really appreciate you sitting through this video and watching. If you know any additional information about Cambodia, please share it below. Let's start a really healthy, happy discussion. Any negative comments below are going to be deleted immediately, because I want to keep things very positive and educational in the comments below of this video. If you donated to Water of Life, let me know. I would love to thank you myself for doing so. Like I said, this is not sponsored in any way. Water of Life doesn't know who I am. I'm definitely going to participate in the Daily Bumps fundraiser this year. I'm not sure exactly how much I'll donate, but it'll be fun to be able to participate this year, because I think we'll actually be able to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.
Hey, no, 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 hey, no, no, no.